Well, I know our future is bright when I look at these young leaders. Governor Gavin Newsom, thank you for that introduction. It is, of course, so good to be back in my home state of California. And to everyone here, on behalf of our administration, it is my honor to officially welcome you to the 9th Summit of the Americas.
Finally, there is a big update on the Build Back Better package. President Biden is meeting with Senate Democrat Manchin to gain his support on the next spending bill. Chuck Schumer is also making a relief package his top priority. Democrats and Republicans are competing for Joe Manchin's attention when it comes to what elements of President Biden's agenda are still in play ahead of the midterm elections, knowing full well that Washington will soon move into full campaign mode. And while Schumer is attempting to get Manchin on board with climate change and lowering prescription price proposals, GOP lawmakers are trying to divert Manchin's attention toward bipartisan negotiations on energy legislation. Schumer is privately trying to negotiate with Manchin on a budget bill that addresses climate change and lowers prescription prices. A West Virginia-based Democrat strategist told reporters that if Manchin gets something done within the parameters as he's discussed it, it's a possible yes from both parties. Now, Mike Lux, a Democrat strategist, said when it comes to the GOP side of things, Republicans are trying to run out the clock by pulling Manchin into energy negotiations and away from spending time on elements of Biden's Build Back Better agenda. So a group of 26 House Democrats piled more pressure on Manchin and Schumer to strike a deal by penning a letter last month warning that constituents will see a spike in health insurance premiums unless Congress extends premium tax credit enhancements. Mike Lux said it's critical to pass a budget reconciliation package to get a few more of Biden's domestic priorities enacted, especially legislation to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies that are due to expire. A group of 26 House Democrats piled more pressure on Manchin and Schumer to strike a deal by writing a letter last month warning that constituents will see a spike in health insurance premiums unless Congress extends premium tax credit enhancements. Schumer met with Manchin at least twice in his office before Memorial Day, and the Democratic leader said he's not going to give up locking down what Manchin's vote is. And Manchin has given Democrats hope by saying that at a minimum, Congress should be able to pass prescription reform. Speaking at an event in West Virginia, Manchin and Democrats must pass legislation to lower prescription prices before the midterm elections. Democratic strategists say getting just a few pieces of Biden's agenda passed would get a major boost to vulnerable Democratic senators and Republicans and representatives that are in the midterm elections. Now, President Biden just announced his administration had secured 33 million bottles of safe infant formula. It is an announcement from Twitter. The president shared that over 127 million bottles of safe infant formula are heading to U.S. shelves as soon as possible. The announcement comes amid a baby formula shortage stemming from a Michigan plant closing over contamination concerns. The Biden administration has taken over other actions in response to the shortage, including the Defense Production Act, creating a consent decree with the FDA to reopen a nutrition facility, and issuing FDA guidance to import formula that is not being produced in the United States. On Thursday, the White House launched a new website that tracks the actions the administration is taking to get more baby formula to shelves. The administration had previously launched Operation Fly Formula Mission to airlift formula from Europe and Australia to further combat the shortage. The administration announced a third and fourth wave of this mission, that will begin shipping baby formula next week. Federally chartered planes are bringing millions of bottles of the popular UK brand to America. Lawmakers have announced that the budget surplus is big enough to give Americans a $1,000 stimulus check. So as California mulls whether it's possible to send another round of stimulus checks out to deal with a massive projected budget surplus, one lawmaker made the case for more tax rebates. The Republican State Senator Brian Jones used grains of rice to break down the projected budget surplus, which is estimated at $45 billion. According to the state senator, the amount is not enough to send every Californian a tax rebate of $1,100 or $4,500.
As many of you may know, I am a proud daughter of California. I represented this state as Attorney General and as a United States Senator, and I am proud to call Los Angeles my home. As Vice President, I am pleased to acknowledge, as the Governor mentioned, California is a place where ambitions and dreams become reality. And so we all gather in Los Angeles this week for the Summit of the Americas with big ambitions. Ambitions that began 28 years ago in Miami at the first ever Summit of the Americas, when our nations together set the Western Hemisphere on a new path, a path to grow our economies and improve the lives of our people. And together, we have made progress on this path, a path that I believe is critically important for so many of us, and I will speak important for the American people, because the Western Hemisphere directly affects the security and prosperity of the United States. And so, this week, we gather once more to build a more prosperous and inclusive future. I look out at this room, and I see representatives of so many different countries and communities. We are joined, of course, by heads of state, and we are joined by youth leaders. We are joined by CEOs, and we are joined by labor organizers, women entrepreneurs, activists, and advocates. So here's how I see it.
Stocks are heading south again here into the close. We're still at the worst levels of the session. We're down now more than 1%, though, on the S&P. Scott Wren joins us, Wells Fargo Investment Institute Senior Global Market Strategist. Scott, what do you tell investors and clients to do on a day like today? Are you a buyer?
Well, I tell you, Sarah, you have to have an outlook that's longer than 3 or 6 months if you're going to be a buyer in stocks here. Really, since the beginning of March, we've been reducing risk in portfolios, particularly for people who have a very short-term view, or they have a cash liquidity need over the short term. But if your view is out, 24 plus months, 12, 24, 36 plus months on bad days, but particularly bad weeks, and we're obviously well off the lows here. You want to try to take advantage of that, but I think you can be patient because there's likely more downside before this is all over, before we work our way higher.
So how should you be positioned now? What sort of protection should you have?
Well, let me tell you what we've been doing. I mean, we've really reduced the cyclicality. So we backed off of financials. We backed off of industrials, consumer discretionary. We've upgraded healthcare and staples and utilities. We've taken money out of equities, which we had leaned hard toward for 18 or 20 months, and we put that in